Hello guys, we are going to discuss problem number 54, which is spiral matrix. And this is very important question for interview as it is asked in many companies can see. So let's just hop in the question. So basically what we have given a 2D matrix whose dimension is m cross n. What is m? M is number of rows. So horizontal are rows and vertical are columns and columns are n. Okay, you can see here there are three rows. You can see and four columns. So it will be 3 cross 4. Okay. And what we have to do, we have to print or return the matrix in a spiral order. So what is a spiral order? You can see spiral is nothing but first we'll go here and this side, and this side. You have to just simply return in a form of list. So let us hop in the question and think how to solve this. So okay, as you can see, it is given in the example. Simply first you have to print this 1, 2, 3, then go down, then left, then up, then repeat the process. So if we look closely, what you have to do? First you have to print the top elements. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Then what you have to do? You have to print the rightmost element. Okay. After printing that, if you remove these two rows, only this much matrix is remaining. Okay. Then what you have to do? You have to go leftwards. Okay. Then you have to go top. If you remove this also, you see only 5 is remaining. Okay. So as you thought, okay, first I have to print the top element. Then if I reach at the last column, then you have to print the last column element. Like first you have to print the top row element or zeroth row element. When you reach at this column, last column, what you have to do, you have to go and print all the elements in the last column, like this 6 and 9. Don't need to print 3 again, you have to just print 3 once. After doing these two, like if you printed the zeroth row, the last column, what you have to do, you have to print the last row elements. Okay, third step. Sorry. Okay. Then you have to do print last row element. After printing last row elements, what you have to do? You have to just simply go and print the first column element. So what was the approach, or you can see the repetition. First you have to print first row or the zeroth row, zero row. Then you have to print last column. Then what you have to do, you have to print the last row. Then what you have to do, you have to print the first column or the zero column. Okay, so you need to print in this order. And this is the question is demanding from us. So okay, you thought, you need these or have to print in this order. So you thought, it's somewhat how you can manage to keep track of the first row, last row, and the first column and the last column. So thing is sorted, you can simply print. Okay. After thinking of this, you have to track of the zero row or the first row and keeping track of the first uh, column or last column, first column, and the last row. So you can print. So there's one more thing. How many elements you have to print? You have to keep track of that because if you print more elements which are present in this uh, 2D matrix, then it will be wrong. You have to print these elements, all of these elements, and you shouldn't repeat any element twice. Okay. So number of element in a 2D matrix is always m cross n. M star N. Okay, which will mean number of rows into number of columns. You can see there are three rows and three columns, which will be nine. Total nine elements are there. Three into three is nine. Okay, so you can check if number of elements you have printed is less than a number of elements that has to be printed. So that can be also checked. So okay, let me rub this. So basically, you thought, you have to keep track of these four, and then you can print. So then what you'll do, you'll keep a pointer. For example, at here you'll keep a track of minimum row MR, which will be the minimum row. I hope this is readable. And minimum column, and this will be a maximum column. And and this will be a maximum row, MX row. Yeah, you can keep track of your the zeroth row. You will be having the MR for that. The last column, you can use max column. So it is pointing to the last column of this matrix. Last row, which is pointed by max R, MXR, and zeroth column, which is pointed by MC, or minimum column. Sorry. Okay. So you think, this is sorted now. Just I have to print in a order. First, I have to print these elements, then these. Simple as that. Okay. If I say that again, you have to print these elements, then these elements, 6, 9, then 8, 7, then you'll go here and simply to repeat. Okay. So basically, what I thought, you have to print this. So what you did first, you will use a loop. Check if number of elements you have printed is less than the number of elements that you should be having. So if I go down, we should go down here and use a while loop. Shit, while loop. I'm just telling. While rather than writing, I'll just explain better. Okay. So we'll use a while loop. First, we'll print these row or these elements. For that, what you need, you have to print all the elements which are in minimum row. You see, the row is common for all of these elements. है Then what you'll do, you'll come here. Then what you have to do, you have to print these elements. In these elements, you can see column is common. So first you printed these elements 1, 2, 3. Then what you have to do, you have to print like these elements. So which is having a common row, which is MN row, MR. So after printing this, what you'll do, you have to update your MR. Why it will update or why you'll update, I'll explain later. Just update it here. Okay. And okay. Then what we'll do, we'll print all the elements of the maximum column or the last column, you can say. So after exhausting here, we'll print 6 and 7. So you can see this all things are gone. You have these four elements. And after printing the last column, you have to update your max column also. I'm just explaining in a second that why I'm doing this. Sorry. So, okay, I'm explaining why I moved MR from zero index to one index and M max column from the last column to the second last column. Okay, so explanation is pretty simple. As you exhausted or you printed all of this row, so you don't need all of this element. So you have to just remove it from your, you can say, area or the region. So it doesn't matter. You can simply remove these elements. Okay. We are just doing it like this. So code will be seeing only these elements. And after updating of max column, you are removing the last column elements. You are removing, let me show you here. You are removing these column elements. After removing this, you will be having this code or these values. So so you love this, like as said. First, let me recap. It's pretty simple. First, you printed the zeroth row elements. Then you printed the last column elements. Then you updated, or you can say before or just after printing the zero row element, you'll update the minimum row, sorry. And after printing the last column element, you updated the last column from this last column to second last, as I did here. Okay. Simply what you did, do next is like you can see here. You have to print 8 and 7. You can see in this here, 8 and 7. So you can see here, the last row is common. So what do what? You simply just print 8 and 7 or push in your answer. Do what like the question is asking. You printed this and same what will do, will update your maximum row. Why I'm updating your maximum row, you also know that. If you printed these element, you exhausted this element. You don't want to print it again. So for that you are just updating it. So move your max column, or sorry, max row from this position to here. Reduce its value and x r. So this is not in your range. Okay. So only this is in range. So what will do? You will see, you can see you have to print 4 5 in this answer. You can see you have to print 4 5. 4 5. You can see your row is common and you're just increasing the columns. So you can print from minimum column to maximum column. Okay. Or you can say 8 and 7 was printed, 1 2 3 was printed, then 6 9 was printed, then 8 and 7 was printed. So then you'll print 4, 4 and 5. Yes, simple. We'll print 4 and 5. What we'll do? We'll print 4 and 5. And after that, what will happen is you are having a count variable, as I told. So what count is having the number of element that you have to print, which is n cross n. For example, in this case, it was 9. So if count will reach 9, then you'll exit the loop. Then we'll simply return the answer. So let me show you in the coding part. So you can see I'm taking the count of number of rows that you are having, numbers of columns that I'm having, answer vector, then total number of elements that I can have, then number of elements that I can have. Okay, and these are the pointers, max row. This is your min row, or sorry, min or max column. This is your min row. This is your min column. These four are the pointer, as I just explained you here. These four made up this. which will be here. Your min row will be here. Or sorry, min column will be here. The max column will be here. And if you can name it anything you want, but these two should be different. Okay. And your minimum row will be here, which will be a zeroth row, and max row will be here, which will be pointing to the last column. Oh, sorry, last row. I'm getting confused between row and columns always. So what you do? Found out total number of elements that you can have. Then you are initializing and you are checking if you printed all the elements or not. First, as I said, you have to print the first element. So you are keeping the row constant, which is the minimum row. You print from zero column to the last column. 1, 2, 3 will print, and you will be subsequently increasing the count of each element. Okay, increase the count of elements. I have printed 3 elements. Then what you do, you increase the minimum row. As you know, as I explained you earlier, like you print these 3 elements. Okay, so these 3 elements are gone. You have to print the next elements. You have to increase the minimum row value. So minimum row will not point here, it will point to the next row. Okay, minimum row pointing to the next row, you'll print. Oh, and you can see column is constant, row is changing. So from min row to max row, your min row was here at the first row till the second row you'll print and keeping the column constant. And you'll just keep track of the count of the elements. Okay. After printing these three, 6 and 9, like we printed these three. So last column is also exhausted. So what you want to do, you want to update it, or you have to update your last column. I hope you're getting. Don't get confused. It's tricky, but not that tricky. So sorry. Just update your maximum column. Up. You see, you have to print 8 and 9, 8 and 7. So to do that, your last row is constant, and it will just print the elements from the maximum column here till here. Here your row will be maximum row. You can see in the code to changing the column max column. What you're doing, you are printing the elements from the max column till the zeroth column or the minimum column, you can say. And after doing that, like we printed 8 and 7 also. So this row is also exhausted. So what you'll do, you'll update your maximum row. I hope you're getting this by updating a maximum row as you move it here. Uh, okay, then what you did, will increase or sorry, decrease the maximum row. So it will point here. And what you do, you can see you'll print 4 and 5. For that, row is constant and your column is pretty much changing because you can say uh, first we print the minimum column element, then next column till maximum column element. So at the last for loop, what we are doing for the maximum row till minimum row. Let me just check. You can see. Let me just show you here. So for this minimum row till maximum row, which is this same value. So for this whole row, and say we'll print element from minimum column to maximum column. And see, we are just changing the minimum column value. And what we'll do, we'll increase the minimum column. So let me just submit this code. And at last, sorry, we'll just return the answer. So I know the code is not that fast, but It's pretty more intuitive than the other codes. And see, all the codes were pretty much same. Some are using a lot of else if statement, which is okay, but I guess this is more clear.
And subscribe to my YouTube channel. Bye bye.
I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemy.